2018 was a big year for Can-Am Off-Road and the race teams, especially in the GNCC circuit, where they actually took number 1, 2, and 3 in the championship series. So we thought it'd be fun to travel out to Texas and meet up with the guy who took the first place spot, Hunter Miller, and just get an idea of who he is, what it takes to win, and how Can-Am has helped them achieve this pretty high level of competition. Hunter lives just outside of Dallas, so we headed off to a place called TexPlex, which is just the most incredible off-road recreational park that you can imagine.
Can-Am had an amazing season. I mean, Jamie McCoy, Kyle Chaney, and myself finished in 1, 2, 3. It just goes to show you how dominant that platform is. Last year, turbos weren't allowed at GNCC, so I was in the old platform, but locally I was racing the X3. And, you know, I went from being competitive with my brother to being pretty dominant once we got into those things, you know. At GNCC, it was the same thing. I mean, the X3s were always at the front of the pack because they work so well. It doesn't take near the effort to drive that thing at the speed that it takes to run some of the other cars. In the early days of racing side-by-sides, you know, we didn't take it that serious. We were still racing quads, and we were both racing the DS450 in motocross. Cody was racing the National Series, and I was racing out west that year. And then in 2012, the race manager for Can-Am at the time asked us if we wanted to try side-by-sides. We were not about to turn that opportunity down. And so the Torn Series, which we were racing locally, added a UTV class, and it started off that first year. We had maybe 15 cars out there. And then, you know, it grew and grew as the whole UTV industry has. Eventually, we went on to the GNCC series, and that's where we've been the last 3 years. 2018 was the final season for UTVs to be at GNCC because of, you know, different insurance reasons with the series. For 2019, I'll be racing the Work Series out west, which is a similar format to GNCC. They're 1-hour races, it's off-road, but it's a little more desert terrain, obviously, being on the other side of the country. We'll see what happens as far as cross-country series coming up in 2020. Sure, you get a shot of us unloading on this sweet trailer. Well, this thing started off as a regular old 64-inch Can-Am Maverick X3 XDS. When we get them back to the shop, we get them stripped apart and take them over to S3 Power Sports. This thing's not terribly different from stock, but we definitely do some things to strengthen them up a little bit and make them survive GNCC. You know, GNCC's pretty tough conditions, really rutted and really rough. So you've got to do some things to make them go the whole hour and a half or hour race at the pace that we're running them at. You know, you want to make sure that you've got some really solid components underneath you.
It's not just a trail ride.
No, it's not a trail ride. We changed the shocks to Elka suspension, which is tuned by Double E Racing. The stock X3 shocks are terrific, but you know, we need stuff that's tuned a little bit different for racing. Yep. It's essentially the stock body, but you know, we drop it down quite a bit.
So all the bodywork is actually lower than the stock one?
Yep, about 6 inches lower.
Oh yeah, holy cow.
Yeah.
The vision is amazing. I can't believe how good I can see it.
Yeah, it's hands down the best on the market. I mean, there's nothing out right now that compares to the X3. Racing is a steering quickener.
Steering quickener?
Mm-hmm. And this one is 50% quicker, so instead of sawing at the wheel, you know, you just are driving it like a go-kart. It's a gear ratio right here inside this.
So this is the stock steering.
From there on, it's stock.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
The only changes are right here. It's a quick, easy bolt-on part.
Wow.
Anybody can do it in, you know, 15 minutes.
Pretty much anybody can benefit from that too.
Clutching, I run the stock X3 components. We tune them a little bit differently with just, you know, weights and springs, but cheap, inexpensive parts.
GNCC season this year, you're the champion, but Can-Am has taken the top 3 positions in the overall standings. So is that a testament to the car, or is that the drivers?
I would absolutely say it's a testament to the car. I finished second overall last year, and Kyle Chaney was third. And this year we were both in X3s, and my brother Cody Miller actually won in a Yamaha last year, but we were in the old platform. And then this year we get into the X3. and, you know, top 3 drivers were all in X3s. So far above and beyond everything else. I mean, from the suspension to the seating position to the center of gravity to how well it turns, I mean, everything about it is better than everything else right now.
Before we went out to ride, we sat down with the crew at TexPlex, Billy and Tommy, and got a little feel for how they're connected with Hunter, because he actually knows these guys and he's ridden here before and ridden here quite a bit. So it was a neat opportunity to just understand the vision for this place and really get a feel for what it means to be dedicated to providing opportunities for people to recreate off-road, which is exactly what these people are.
So I think it really spawned from our founder, Tommy Kehoe, and our owner that had the property. And I think they really kind of came together and one day said, I want to do something fun out there. What would be something really unique and really cool? And when we identified that 98% of Texas is private land and that there are no places for these guys to really go and ride, it just became a natural progression to say, let's try this. Let's see how this works. We are really, really popular for our UTV short course track. So it's a 2.1 mile race course that is basically a motocross style track that you can take a UTV and race on. Additionally, we have 3 motocross tracks, including a premier facility that we just built, state of the art, where we imported dirt, special dirt, to make the consistency right, and had a professional builder come in and fly in and do that. So it is awesome. Additionally, we have trails that you can do for both for UTV and ATVs, as well as dirt bikes. We've just expanded and added our truck trail system, so you can bring out trophy trucks, Raptors, Ford Raptors, pre-runner style trucks, and run 95 miles an hour out there.
TexPlex is amazing. I mean, look around, you know? These guys are obviously very passionate about motorsports and off-road motorsports. Every time I come out here, I'm blown away about the improvement that they've made, you know, from the last time. And it may only be a month, but, you know, something is different every single time. But they're building paradise here.
TexPlex has only been around for 2 years, and they are already huge with so many things to do. They're bigger than most off-road parks are that have been around for 10 years. They credit a lot of that to Can-Am. Can-Am supplies them with their support vehicles. They have Can-Am X3 rentals for people to come and rent and try, and you can come rent one and take it right out on the short course track like we did. So that relationship is really an important one, TexPlex, but it's also become a very important one for Can-Am. And I think that relationship is really interesting, and it's something that they certainly want to develop more in the future. So while Hunter did bring his race car, the idea for this story was not for us to drive around in his race car. The idea was for him and I to drive around in a stock Maverick X3. And it's something that he hadn't done for a while because he races so much, and it's, you know, something I do all the time. But he's a professional side-by-side racer who's won championships. You don't win championships by being reckless. I trust them because you can't get to his level being dangerous, being out of control. But he doesn't know me at all.
Admittedly, I'm not much for sitting in the passenger seat. It's a control issue, I guess. Even when Cody and I are testing, you know, I have a hard time sitting over there. I can usually sit about a lap and I'm ready to get out of there. When I have to get in with somebody I don't know, I'm certainly a little nervous.
The short course track itself was everything I had ever expected a short course track to be. It was awesome. On this track, the jumps were built for side-by-sides. You could hit them full throttle no matter what, and you were always sailing level. The one berm was like 3 stories tall. It was the craziest thing. It was like being on a roller coaster. I drove my best. I drove as fast as I could drive, still maintaining some safety, and I thought I was doing really well. I thought I was ripping, and I'm like, man, he must be impressed with my driving. And then he started driving, and I was terrified. The things that he was doing with this car, the places where I was on the brakes and like slowing down to make a corner, he was full throttle into the corner. The places where I was checking up because I wanted to make sure I didn't get out of control or slide sideways, he just held the throttle to the floor. I've ridden a lot of places with a lot of people, and I've never experienced anything like this.
You know, it's been a pretty good while since I've driven a stock X3. You kind of forget how well they work just straight out of the box.
TexPlex has obviously got all kinds of crazy things to do in your ATV side-by-side dirt bike, but they also have something that I'd never even heard of before. Live fire scenario firing range. It's hard to describe, but it basically is a computer-controlled firing range where you shoot live ammunition at a screen. There's infrared cameras on the back that record where your hits are on the screen, and it projects a video image of a scenario for you to shoot at. And there's scenarios, everything from just regular target shooting to things like office shooting scenarios and hostage scenarios, home invasions, you name it. It was so fun. It was awesome.
I've never done anything like that before. I guess typically you have to be a police officer or military to get your hands on something like that.
But if you're going to be here riding your vehicles, make sure you set aside some time to do that because you won't regret it. I guess what really struck me was how down-to-earth and normal Hunter is, but how professional he is and how he understands that what he does is only possible because of companies like Can-Am providing vehicles like the X3 for him to be fast in, and vehicles that are durable like the X3 that he doesn't have to worry about breaking down. And it was also an eye-opener in just how fast a guy like Hunter is, his ability to drive that vehicle to the absolute limit and do that lap after lap. I mean, it was fun experiencing what a Texas off-road park's all about. They do everything bigger in Texas. Definitely one I'd like to try and repeat and do again. Thanks for watching this segment of Trax TV. For more great content, make sure you click the links or subscribe to our channel where we're always updating with new content every day throughout the week.